where two short-term rental bros come together.
What?
Not in that way, bro. There's a podcast of truly epic proportions where we talk about all things short-term rental and shoot the shit along the way. Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast. Here are your hosts, Matt Codd and Austin Spitz.
All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Austin Spitz back with the Co-Host Bros Podcast, and I'm here to give you the co-hosting tip of the week. And something that I want to focus on today is reviews and getting good reviews. So what I've noticed over my period of time in this industry and in this space while hosting, the majority of my positive reviews and just executing those 5-star reviews consistently over time came down to simply one thing. And I think it's the one thing that we as co-hosts can separate us from the big property management companies is basically our personal touch and being able to communicate with them on a very personal level. So what do I mean by that? I mean, just being very hospitable from the time that they inquire to their checkout and just being very personable. So, you know, you want to have automated messages, but you also want to look for those touch points where you can bond / relate or interact with the guests in order to further establish that relationship. You want to be able to offer recommendations of, you know, local restaurants, things to do. You have to have this stuff in your back pocket and little insider tips. And of course, all this is stated in your guidebook. However, if you establish that rapport with the guest up front, for example, you know that they are coming to town for, let's say, you know, a bachelorette party. You can be the source to recommend, hey, this bar is very popular. This is what people like to do. You know, a lot of young folks, you know, come here and hang out, whatever the case may be, or somebody's coming in town you know, for a birthday party or, you know, simply just a family vacation. So knowing that avatar of who's traveling to stay with you is very helpful. And then kind of tailoring a response and being able to be very personal up front. And all this relates back to the reviews. So what I've noticed is that if you just make some sort of connection, provide excellent service, be very hospitable and very personable, 5-star reviews will come for the most part. I mean, you have to execute on the things within the house and make sure that the house is clean and do all the things that we talk about on every single podcast. And you have to execute there. But I think the single most important thing is that you being hospitable, you being personable, and you being able to connect with that guest on, you know, their level and just be a good human and be decent, be an awesome person and just be that source of knowledge and information for them is typically always going to leave you with a 5-star review. Now, to touch on that, if some issue does arise or there is a problem with their stay or their check-in, obviously, we all know that our main concern is to solve that problem as efficiently and use common sense to kind of make it the easiest for you, but also accommodate the guest. But the main point is to solve their problems as soon as they arise. Also, you know, one thing that I look at is while these problems and issues tend to come up frequently and questions tend to come up frequently, our approach tends to be as this is an annoyance and this is kind of bothersome to me. Like we all just hope that our automated messages goes out. They have everything they need. And if you're doing everything right, theoretically, the guest should never contact you because the house is set up in a perfect way. And you have worked out all the bugs. The messaging answers everything, the questions that they have. The guidebook explains, you know, everything that they would possibly need during their stay. But with that being said, you know, problems are going to arise. And instead of looking at it as like, poor me, or, oh, I got to deal with this guest messaging me. I know we all tend to do that, but what we really should look at it as is an opportunity. So that's an opportunity to fix it And if you can fix their problem, they're already like, oh no, this is an issue. If you have the contact of the person that can solve this for them and you can execute it very quickly and get it solved for them, and be in contact. Hey, I saw that this issue happened. We went ahead, we took care. I'm so sorry for your inconvenience. There are certain times, and there's a lot of ways to go about this. There's sometimes when, essentially if it's a big payout, there's certain things that I've done in the past where it was maybe an inconvenience with them. We had a house that I think it was like for the first night, it was after a freeze and they were without water for a few hours. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was as soon as they checked in, it was at night, they wanted to shower, whatever the case may be. So anyways, within a matter of an hour, I had a handyman out there turn the water back on because the water was turned off during the freeze. I think it was in the evening. It was either that night or maybe the next day. I checked in on them. Everything was good. They were already past it. They said, thank you for fixing that. And, people are very understandable that these things happen. And then one thing that you can do to be even more of a hospitable host is we took it one step further. And the next day for lunchtime, I think, I texted the host and said, hey, do you guys have any food allergies, anything like that? And it was simple. It was stupid and it was cheesy, no pun intended. But we sent them enough pizzas for them to have lunch, and we just put it on us. And I double texted them back and said, hey, I just really wanted to apologize for that inconvenience last night. These kind of things happen, and they were very understanding. Like, you didn't have to do that, but $30 worth of pizzas and sodas or whatever I sent them, yielded in them being very grateful, made their experience great, and in turn they left us a 5-star review. So all that to be said, my co-hosting tip of the week is essentially when a problem arises in your business, the main focus should be that this is an opportunity. This is not a problem. This is not oh man, I have to deal with this. This is what you've got into it. And if you're operating at a high level, you need to be training your VAs or whoever's over operations to be able to look at these situations as opportunities and to solve them efficiently and doing whatever you can to keep that guest happy. So I think that's my co-hosting tip of the week. For the most part, it all comes down to being personable. And when you are personable, the more interaction, the more touches that you get, with communicating with that guest, the more likely you are going to get those 5-star reviews. And I've noticed that it comes down to most of the time when there's a problem or if there's an issue with the house, you being personal, you being helpful, you taking action to solve those problems, regardless of what happens during their stay within reason, you're still going to execute and you're still going to get that 5-star review. So that's my co-hosting tip of the week. Anything else that I want to touch on that? No, the last thing that I do want to say though is these 5-star reviews are very important. Now, we don't want to be a slave to reviews, and that can't be the way that we run our business. We have to do it within reason. But these 5-star reviews are very important because it does dictate future bookings. It does dictate what you can price your property at. It does dictate a lot of things where you can be more selective with guests because you have so much more demand. So these 5-star reviews, while you don't want to run your business based on that, it is very important, and it is critical to your bottom line revenue because we don't have any listings that are below a 4.9. Now, if you're at something like a 4.6 and you have an equivalent house to me at 4.9 and above, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to get the booking over you every time. At the end of the day, I'm going to make more money than you over time. And so reviews are very important. And, to summarize all this, co-host tip of the week, just be hospitable. Thank you guys for tuning in.
The Co-Host Bros Podcast.